I mean, the usual tactics, I think, you post jobs, you go to networking events. I think what's becoming more important is people are joining a company not because it pays X number of dollars, but more because they want to be part of something that's doing something significant. They want to be part of a culture, be part of a winning team. So I think that story needs to be told really well. There's ways that entrepreneurs can do that, and be clear about what your story is, the stories that we're telling here. I often will share that in an interview, in the interview process, just so people kind of know. One of the things that we do is, like, there's kind of the initial, we actually do 2 interviews. The initial one is just, if we get enough candidates, then we kind of hand select down to, let's call it 10 or 15. We interview those candidates, and then maybe 3 or 4 we'll get a second interview with myself, which literally I will not even look at the resume, just because I frankly don't have time to be. I assume that if somebody got past the first kind of gatekeeper, that the resume was good enough and that they have the skill set. I'm doing what I call the heart-to-heart, which is I'm going to ask you questions like, tell me somebody like a personality type you really can't get along with, like somebody you can't stand. How did you handle, failure? Tell me about, like, the biggest mistake you've ever made. And it's like, I've literally had people, like, break down crying in the office, but I want to know what kind of challenges you're facing, because if you're not kind of, tell me how a situation that made you feel really uncomfortable on the previous job. Like, is this person going to be kind of flaky, and are we going to be constantly trying to make sure that we don't step on their toes, or are they just going to roll the punches like everybody else does? So I learned, again, the hard way, like all things in life it seems, that to spend a lot more time on the inbound as opposed to trying to manage questionable personality types and conflicting skill sets. If somebody doesn't have the skills, they're not going to fit the culture on the way in, then they just don't make it in. So I've been more choosy and selective than I have in the past. And I think there's great talent here. I mean, there's universities, there's colleges, there's lots of organizations in the tech sector. For roles across sales, marketing, development, and there's a lot of kind of shifting around from companies. People see what you're doing, they want to come work with you. I think it's the multi-pronged approach. You can't just do one thing and hope for the best, and you've got to do it all. And always be recruiting as well too. Like, I've always, like Albert probably, he's always got his eyes and ears open for somebody that might be a good fit. Hey, it might not be now. There's people that we've had conversations with literally for, I've gone to Fanshawe, spoke at Fanshawe for 3 years in a search marketing class. This person's heard me 2 or 3 times speak. They like the story, and then they're looking for an internship, which turns into a job. So there's lots of stories like that happen. It's not just you submit a resume, you're in the door. I'm trying to always be recruiting mode as well.
If you're looking to join a startup, which there seems to be a lot of people that are interested in doing that, what startups are looking for? At least some startups I've been involved in, which is about half a dozen. We always look for people that buy into the vision and the mission, and where the candidate has a certain passion that resonates with me or the company. So let's say I'm running a game company right now. We're looking for people that are really passionate about games. It's not enough that you tell me you play StarCraft 8 hours a day. It's gotta be more than that. It's gotta be the fact that I have all these side projects where I've created fan art for games, or I've created my own games on the side that is outside of school, that I contribute to these open source libraries that help other gamers do whatever. So being able to show that you go above and beyond, and that you're also able to wear many hats is also important, because you're going to not have a typical job when you do a startup. You're going to be wearing many, many hats. One day you're going to be doing marketing or helping with marketing. The next day you could be working with finance. The next day you could be standing in a booth doing recruiting. So you got to be really dynamic, especially in an early stage startup where everyone wears multiple hats. So those of you that are looking to join a startup, passion is super important. Being able to show that you actually want the job and you're able to show that you have a track record of doing things outside of school that is related to what you're applying for is going to be super important. Your ability to go and create a portfolio of work that backs that up is going to be important, whether you're like an artist or a programmer or a marketing person, something that shows concrete work. And how do you get like this kind of portfolio of work? And portfolio, I use it fairly liberally. It's just anything that you can show, you can point to, experiences that have sort of residual outcome that you can point to that would show me that you would be a good candidate. And oftentimes, it's about you going and not looking for immediate rewards. So some of the best things I've done in starting companies or building a track record was like doing things at a loss or doing things for free. Like when I first started my very first company in my early teens, I basically offered my services, my design and programming services to a very big client that allowed me to create a portfolio piece that had a big client attached to it. And this is the sort of thing that would stick out in a resume when I'm looking for somebody. And I'm sure everyone on the panel would agree that if you did something above and beyond that sticks out, it always helps, especially if it's connected to what your client is.
The smartest guy in the room is not the smartest guy in the room. It's the guy that brought the smart people together. And so if you're good at bringing smart people together and they're going to have great arguments and you can referee between them to get to the right answer, the best thing you can do is bring smart people together. And I went so far as to give up part of my own salary to hire a kid just because I thought he had the chops. And I didn't know what to do with him yet, but I wanted him. I didn't want to lose him because really special talent you don't get a lot. And if you find somebody like that, you figure out how to keep them. But I mean, there's no answer. I mean, it's hard as hell. Engineering war in Silicon Valley. There's a guy that I know right now that is being recruited by Uber out of, we'll go to a meetup and some guy from Uber or Twitter will be there and they're like, hey, you know Python or Google Go, and we're doing that now. Why don't you give us your resume? I get to compete with that. You got to compete. You got to sell a great story. They actually have to believe in what you're doing more than believing in the salary, because the worst thing you want is somebody just taking a job for the salary.
For so many years, I went through a phase when I started that I wanted to hire people that I wanted to be friends with. I'm like, they seem like to be really cool friends, like they'd be fun to work with. It's a terrible idea. Then I hired people who were like me, which was also a terrible idea. I think I now have it, and for me it was all about hiring like a keystone employee who was a recruiter. And she was really, really great, and she kind of helped me fill a lot of my HR gaps. And that was kind of just the foundation. And from there we kind of just started creating a really cool culture. And it's very much, recruiting is all about like the law of attraction. It's about creating a culture that people want to be part of, and then you draw them in, and it's very much like an art, not a science. That said, we are actively recruiting right now for business development for Cole+Parker and Tiny Potions and office administration, so if any of you guys are interested, check out our website. But yeah, it's hard, and it's competitive, and it's hard to find good people, but as someone said on here, as soon as you find that great person, our keystone recruiter, she was way higher paid than anyone we've ever paid, and we're like, we need her. We need to make it happen. It's done. And it was the best decision.
Culture is everything. And culture starts at a mission and vision, and it usually takes the form of a story. And if you've got a great story, you will attract. You're much more likely to attract great people. Great people are not driven by money. They're not driven by specific work. They're driven by the fact that there is meaning in what they're doing. Because the greatest developers and engineers and marketing people that I've worked with, they all have offers everywhere. They can get a job anywhere. In fact, I have software developers that are getting paid probably a third of what they could probably get somewhere else. But they're working with us because they love games. They believe in the disruptive technology that we're building behind the games, which happens to be HTML5, which people go on. And we have a fantastic culture. And culture is is about vision and mission, but it's also how you treat people and how you evaluate people. We have a very value and employee-centric culture where we believe at the pinnacle of the company is our talent and our employees, and wrapped around that is our values. Meaning, we evaluate every one of our employees around our core values. That's how they get promoted, that's how they get raises, that's how they get bonuses. And we spell these values very clearly to them. And we do this for the sole reason of building a culture that would attract and retain great people. And we also do other things that a lot of times people see it as just perks, but the perks also play into the culture. So like some of the perks that we give, and I'll tell you why it is we do so many perks, and it's to attract top talent. Is, you know, we cater breakfast, lunch, and dinner if they stick around. We have an in-office masseuse that comes in on a weekly basis. We do parties every single month.
Don't do that with friends and family money.
No, you gotta be ideally profitable, or you raise a crap ton of feces. We're fortunate to be profitable, so we throw a lot of crazy parties. We go go-karting, we go paintballing, we have crazy activities every month. And why is that? It's because I know so many of my employees can just pick up the phone, just like go on email and reply to any number of messages that come in weekly, and work at another place where you can get, 10, 50, 100, 300% more, in terms of total compensation. Now, while we can, as a small company, compete on cash, we can compete on culture, and we compete on stock or equity. And we can compete on responsibility and growth. So some of the people that we brought in, they've literally doubled their salary since they've started, and they've doubled or tripled their responsibilities. The reason why that is because we believe in hiring people that are high potential. We don't necessarily just value experience. We believe skill and talent and drive is really important. And people know that when they come and interview with us, because they've heard that through the grapevine from other employees. And that's why they would turn down. We've competed with people like Mozilla, Google, Facebook, and we've had people that have offers from all these top employers that chosen to work at our company because of all these things around culture, around values, around perks, around growth. So if you're a startup, don't think that just because you don't have cash to compete at an equal playing field as the big boys, you have something else, which is responsibility and growth, and also equity. But equity should be almost secondary to everything else, because if you got a good story and you're doing something really interesting and resonates with a top person, they're going to care more about that than anything else.